for what our players will see when they come back for preseason.
Was this a fairly obvious choice for you to make this decision?
I think we wanted to go through the entire process. We always knew how great Bev was, but we did go through a really involved process. That process included Champions League winners. It included city national team coaches. It included coaches that were remarkable that I'd worked with at the Federation. So it was a really strenuous process, but knowing that Bev came out on top across all those people that we just talked about is pretty impressive, and I think speaks so many volumes to what Bev can do for this club.
With her being a very successful former player and only 35 years old, how much does something like that, and knowing how close she can get with players and understand kind of the ins and outs, how big was that in Ireland?
I think it's important, but also you have to, as a head coach, and I've learned it coming into my role, you have to be stern, you have to be direct, and you have to make difficult decisions. And that was something I asked Bev in the process. I think her relationship with players is great, but we do want to hire an assistant coach that can also foster those great relationships. And we're down the road in that process as well.
You've established a relatively new relationship, if you will, with her as well, coming over here as well. So it's starting something new in a way, but having a familiar face on top of that with these women, it's a unique dynamic, it feels like. From your perspective, how is this going to work?
I think the dynamic's great. I've gotten to know Bev over a long year, and her work ethic has been absolutely amazing. Feel really confident working together. I told her through this process, and she's alluded to it as well, that we want a partnership. At the end of the day, roster decisions will be a lot driven by that position, if not completely driven by that position, and that's what we want it to be in this club. So we want to come in, and we've started meeting 2 or 3 times regularly over the last couple of weeks to kind of build out what that roster will look like.
With all the changes in just like a short amount of time, do you feel like she kind of brings like a foundational piece to?
Yeah, I think there's always changes in women's soccer, but Bev has a great foundation. We're going to build with 2 assistant coaches, which is a great step in the right direction for this club to compete in this league. And I know we're going to get 2 great coaches to support Bev, so she has all the resources she needs to be successful.
The league is expanding playoffs to 8 teams next season. Does the expectation to make playoffs come into this decision, and what conversations have you had with Bev around that?
The expectation to make playoffs is always here. This team has finished 9 3 consecutive years. We want to make the playoffs every year, and that's a standard of this club. So I think it's always going to be a factor, but knowing that that's the standard has never been a question.
Knowing that is the standard, what do you feel Bev can do to get you past that hump?
Yeah, Bev brings an incredible tactical knowledge, but also the relationship pieces. She knows a lot of experience inside the NWSL. That's a key. And then putting that into play with our players in strong tactical plans in training sessions will pay dividends down the line.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, I'm going to bring Lauren Ryan.
Signetti official?
Yeah. Yeah, it's official. We have so much news. Like, it's crazy.
There it is.
Yeah.
Is it sit on me?
Do I sit? No. I'm like, way too tall.
Some things never change. We still have to adjust the cameras.
I know, everyone's like, way tilted. What?
Were you told?
Yeah, I got my, guys, I always wear tall shoes. You don't have to worry about that for any reason. Yeah, if you're looking for platforms, just send me a message. I got them all. That was sold out of them.
All right, is everyone good?
Yeah.
I guess if you could just start us off, Lauren, with just your thoughts on this hire. Obviously, you know that pretty well, but just what came to mind yesterday when the team was informed of the decision.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Excitement. I was really proud and excited for Bev. What an opportunity. Absolutely deserves. She's been tremendous for this group. I probably didn't look, I was like smiling, but in my head, I was like jumping up and down. And I think that was kind of the response from everybody, is just like pure joy and just real excitement. I think we really believe in Bev, and she definitely has the respect of the group, which I think is really important in the NWSL. And I think, like Jeff said, he was going to run through a brick wall. Even I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Like, I'll go right now. And I think that honestly was, kind of the mentality with Bev this entire year. And I think we're really, really excited to get going.
Throughout this whole process, Ryan said that player input was going to play a big factor. Going through it and finding out obviously Bev was a huge candidate in this, what was that like, and kind of maybe what was some of yours, maybe other players' desire to have her as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think as soon as she came in, we were all really ecstatic just from last season. I think, the sessions that she runs are really, really fun, really detail oriented, like they said out there. Her attention to detail is something that is really important in this league, because I think the details end up winning you the league or not winning you the league. And I think, the teams that do stuff really well are the ones that are consistent with the details. And just to have somebody that is that detail oriented is really paramount for this type of group. But I think throughout the year, we all have been kind of giving input about how important Bev has been to us, and, what a role model she's been, and, how excited we were to have her. And I think you could go to anyone on the group and they would all say pretty much the same things of how, lucky we are to have her. So I think that throughout that span of the year, and then towards the end, obviously, we were all pushing for her, but, ultimately it's, the ownership group's decision and Ryan's, and I think we made a great choice.
Her being a former player, how much easier is it to kind of bounce ideas off her and vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just gives you an added layer, right? So to have someone that's been through the spectrum of things and then gone on to coach, I think it gives you, she has that perspective that we have, right? So I think that that's honestly what makes her so special, obviously among other reasons, but I think that is such an important part of what makes her so great is she's been there. So she understands, the highs and the lows of the game, what's really important, right? The details, like I said. So I think, and obviously she was a tremendous player, so I'm not taking that away from her either. I think, that obviously plays a real big role into how you end up as a coach as well. So I think, having that knowledge is really, really important. And she's awesome. So
with change, obviously there's expectations that come with that. So now that Bev is taking over, what are those expectations of her and of this group as a whole with her taking over?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the expectation in the NWSL is to win, but I think, her thought process of development, I think, is really important, right? Because you like she said, everyone does want to get better. So from the rookies up to, the 10-year vets, everybody is looking for that development year after year. And I think when you start to stack those years of development and then experience, that's when you find really successful teams, right? So I think that we obviously really want to win, but I think that, that development will just push us even further. I think we were really close last year, but I think, like I said, she has the respect of the group, and anything she's saying and wants to push us in, I think we're absolutely on board with that. So I think, her vision is something that we're obviously going to get on board with. So I'm really excited to see what she brings to the table.
Do you think that vision can potentially put this team over the top in the long run here? And if so, how?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, she is really brilliant tactically. And I think you've seen that throughout the year, like her bringing players aside and giving us little tactical adjustments, honestly has really improved my game. And I think, a lot of other players. And so I think when you put that together into a head coach and make it a collective, then everybody's on the same page. And so I think getting on the same page, having that vision, having that identity, right? Like you said, blue collar, if once we have all of those things in place, I think that that's a much easier process for us all to follow through. I think we're creatures of habit, right? So if we don't have those things to outline our play, then it's really hard for us to jump to the next level. So I think having that in play, having that vision, having all of the things that Bev brings, I think is easily going to push us to the next level.
I do have a couple from the Zoom. I'll just read you. This one's from Steph at The Athletic.
Yeah.
Bev has talked about different players needing different things to buy in. With Bev having already helped coach the team, what do you feel is the level of buy-in among the players? What does Bev do that makes you want to buy in? Do you think that may change or take a different form with her as the head coach versus the assistant, given her responsibilities will expand?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I've said before, like the buy-in is 100%. And I think that she already knows a lot of the players, which I think, again, adds another level of importance for us. I think once you get to know players, you understand what their limits are, how to be pushed, when to be pushed, the type of approach you take to each player, because everyone's different, right? We all have different personalities, and melding that is what makes a really good coach and a good team. So no, I don't think it's going to change that much. I think, she was already pushing the group a lot. And so I think that that's just, a little bit of an added bonus for us. And as a head coach, I absolutely think she'll continue to push us and be really attentive to details. And I'm really excited, honestly, to see where that goes.
Okay. And Max, I don't know if you can hear me, but you can go ahead. I think you can unmute yourself.
Can you guys hear me?
I think well enough, yeah.
Sorry, I lost my voice, but this is obviously, sorry, only your guys' you guys are a young franchise, so only your third year. How important is it to have somebody who's already made the system, someone who can bring like continuity, over time, so establish that it's important to have already been there for at least a year.
Yeah, I mean, I think being here from the beginning to the end, we've obviously had a lot of change. And I do think there is some importance, like being placed in continuity and having that. Not a ton of change, but obviously it's the NWSL. You can't expect to not have changes. It's just the way of, pro sports. But I think having Bev, someone we're familiar with, someone who's run a lot of our sessions, who we've heard a lot of, I think that's really important. And I'm really excited to see, her ideas as a head coach. Obviously, as an assistant, I think you're kind of in the mode of the head coach a little bit, but I'm really excited to see what type of ideas she brings as a head coach. And I think that, us already knowing the types of sessions she runs, like the type of human being she is, I just think that makes a big difference for us, at least. And I think that that's like less stressful, because I think anytime a new head coach comes in that you're not completely aware of, it's a lot of getting to know them. And I think that takes a little bit of time. So I think we can kind of honestly jump right in with Bev and hit the ground running as soon as preseason starts, which is awesome.
And one more from Becky Morgan, said, as a player who has expressed interest in becoming a coach yourself in the future, what does it mean to see former players in the league ascend to these head coaching positions?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm literally headed to a session tonight. But it's really honestly so cool. And I've expressed this before, but like what a role model to have Bev. Even in my own personal coaching journey, I think that she's a very good example of what you can achieve as a female in sports, but just that next level of coaching and, how important it is to be players and then coaches. I don't think there's enough women in that, field in general. So I think having Bev right at your doorstep to, ask questions about, like, I've even gone to her with the B and asked her questions, and even with the C. So I think that, she is paving the way. There's a lot of female coaches in the league that are paving the way, but to have her right at her doorstep is pretty special.
And last one from Paul Miles. Says, what is Bev's reputation among other players in the league who may not be interested in playing for Racing?
Hopefully great. No, I mean, I honestly do think she's got a great reputation among players. I've already seen, Twitter's been blowing up about how many players are congratulating her. And, I think that her reputation precedes her in the league. Obviously, she played for a really long time, so she has like a very broad spectrum of people she's played with. And I think that that's very attractive to have, a former player, now a head coach, but also has, a lot of respect throughout the league. So, yeah, hopefully, that keeps bringing all the talent to Louisville, because we're here for it. We're here for the wins. So.
Thank you.
Woohoo! Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
We scooch it back just a little bit. That light is coming down just a little.
Scooting this back.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You want me to move our light as well?
Yeah, everything just like comes in.
Yeah, it is a little overpowering. That's a good point.
Overhead light.
Yeah, you guys are the experts, so
Whatever works.
I'm about her height. So you want this lady up here?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Yes, that's way better. Good call.
I'd say we'll know for next time, but Bev's going to sign a lot of contracts.
That seems rather fine, actually.
I mean, that's probably a big part of it. Also, recency bias.
We realized the lights.
Oh, I didn't notice the lights. Gotcha.
You guys have me dancing here?
Yeah, nice. It's a college camp, so the soccer board dance. All right, is everyone good? Well, Bev already gave her opening statement, so we'll let you guys just fire away.
Bev, Ryan mentioned in the press conference that there may have been some other clubs that were pursuing you, but what ultimately made it obvious for you to want to stay here in Louisville?
Yeah, I mean, I think the club is fantastic. It's a club where I want to be. It's a city where I want to be. I obviously have a young family, as you guys heard my daughter early on today, but it's such an incredible place for our family and to raise a young family. So from a city perspective and from a club perspective, it was a no-brainer to continue to pursue this opportunity. So obviously very grateful and very honored to be in this role.
And to obviously be someone who was an assistant coming into this head coaching role, what do you think it means to this club in the bigger picture to have someone that has been here and already understands the culture and now wants to build?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I talk about building relationships constantly and what that looks like and how to continue to push players to develop and what those needs are. Every player is very different. So building those relationships to understand what makes them tick. I had a season now to do that and to start that and to build those relationships. So now building off of that and not starting from square one is something that I'm incredibly excited about.
Talking to Ryan and Lauren, it was very obvious they were excited about you. A lot of that comes from you being a former player. Do you feel like that adds to you maybe being more of a player's coach?
Yeah, I think for me, just my experiences having sat in these lockers, obviously not these ones specific, but obviously I'm using an analogy here in regards to having sat in their position before and being out on that pitch and understanding those nuances with spacing, nuances with the first touch, nuances with vision, carrying that into the coaching role that I have, and then obviously carrying it from the fact that I've been an assistant coach and blending those two pieces, I think will allow me to be the best that I can be for this group.
Building a winning culture is the end goal. And so now being a part of this and having this lead role, what will you be doing that allows this team to get over the top at this point?
Yeah, and I think, like I mentioned out there, it's creating an environment Monday through Friday that's incredibly competitive and it has a winning mentality present, right? And I think a lot of who these players are off the pitch transcends to who they are on the pitch. So finding these relationships, building them early to be able to push them early and find that support and how I balance those two pieces for them. So for me, it's just creating that winning and competitive mentality Monday through Friday.
You've seen these women play before, you have these relationships. Is this team capable now with your leadership of reaching the pinnacle and winning a championship, or what are the steps to get to that point at this level right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for now it's assessing where we're at and where we can be and how to get there. And so that's going to be my responsibility alongside the technical staff and the support staff to make sure that we get to where we want to get. And I think the group's at an incredible base. So for me, it's enhancing all these pieces to make sure that we continue moving forward. And I'm incredibly excited for that.
I've got a couple from Zoom. Steph, if you're able to hear me, you can go ahead and ask a question. Yeah, it's off my computer. Just a little quiet.
Hi.
You know, you've seen things in the league, you've seen a league that's gone from 6 grand and now to, $60 million deals. Lauren was just sitting here talking about how she looks up to you, whoever, on coaching. Do you derive any meaning from seeing that actual win for yourself in the chain of the league collapsing? There was no continuous history, but now, 10 years, it's part of this actual generational history here. And that's why I'm just wondering, do you find any meaning in that or reflecting on it?
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously being a part of the league early on as a player and seeing its growth, seeing obviously what these players deserve in multiple capacities has been incredibly rewarding. I got to experience it as a player in the sense of how the league continued to grow in a positive direction. And now I get to see it on the coaching side and continue to push for the league's growth. And so for me, it's absolutely rewarding to have been in that position and to have seen that growth and now to continue to push for that growth. I'm incredibly excited for that.
Another from Zoom asks, did you ever envision becoming a head coach this soon after your playing career? And how helpful has the PA been in helping you get your career started? For example, helping you find a license?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for me, I always knew that I was incredibly passionate about the game and wanting to teach the game. Very early on in my career, I was actually coaching and running my own private lessons / small group type of business in the sense of obviously being able to be paid throughout the year, but also an opportunity for me to dive into my coaching and see kind of where my passion was in that sense. And so for me, everything that I was teaching from a coaching sense was exactly what I was trying to improve on in my game. Being on these kids with, hey, what's your body shape look like? Are you checking your shoulder? Was all pieces that I needed to add to my game. And so diving into that very early on and saying, oh, I enjoy educating. I enjoy teaching the game. I got to see that as a player, and I continued to pursue it in that sense. And obviously through the PA, with opportunities to get a license, to explore what that passion was. And I'm grateful to say I got to do two things I'm incredibly passionate about. I think people go their lifetimes looking for doing what they love for a living. I did that as a player, and I walked away, and now I'm finding something I'm even more passionate about as a coach. And I get to tell my kids that I got to do two things that I love for a living, which is an incredible honor.
With this club being past 3 years finishing in 9th place, what do you feel the responsibility is for you now as a head coach to get them over that hump and build upon everything you guys have already had these past 3 years?
Yeah, I think it's diving into obviously where we can go and where we believe we can go. This group has a very strong belief in one another. They get along off the pitch, they get along on the pitch in the sense of that they want what's best. It's not necessarily like hanging out all the time, but they obviously have that relationship, but they also want to push each other in the most professional way possible. So for me to have a base like that and to be able to coach the pieces that we need to coach from units, from functional sense, from overall tactical view, I think for us, it's just what can get us there and how quickly we can get there is my main focus coming into this space, in this role.
How much do you plan on bringing over from being an assistant coach to as a head coach? Oh, we have a question on here.
Jeff, everyone, I'm so sorry. Am I okay?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, can you repeat that?
The director of the academy and the associate head coach, Noemi Ray on this.
Say hi. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gonna ask
Hi.
you a question.
So being an assistant coach, how much do you take over from that responsibility?
Yeah, and I think for me, it's now. Yes, we're gonna talk, but mommy's gonna go first. Is that okay? And then it's gonna be your turn. Okay. So I think it's just taking everything that I've learned in the role, right? I now understand what it's like to be in my position. So now being in the head coaching role, what I'm asking for my assistants, what I need from my assistants to create an environment for this overall bigger picture to be executed as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. So using my experiences in this role to better serve them and ask from them what my needs may be from my head coaching role. And I think for me, it's surrounding myself with people that I know believe in what I'm doing and trust in what I'm doing and want to continue to enhance that in every aspect. And so that's where I'm at from that sense.
Louisville is now home for the long run here, and to be able to raise your family here and to have this be your home, how special is this now for you? Yeah, it's incredibly special. I say it all the time. This is the most underrated city. This city is amazing, from the people to the food to the outdoors activities that we get to do as a young family. And I think, everyone tells me when I first got here, they're like, you can get anywhere in 15 minutes. I'm like, yeah, right. Obviously a California native. I didn't believe that for one instance. And yeah, here we are. I absolutely love it. My family loves it. It's a place we now call home, and we look forward to calling it home.
You excited for your mom?
Are you excited for mommy?
Thank you.
Of course.
Appreciate
Thank you
you.
guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
For
Sorry
sure.
for that.
No. Sorry.
You interrupted 2 times today.
If anyone wants any shots of Bev on the field, we're gonna take her out and get some photos. You want to roll?